Hello there my RPG lovers and welcome to another video. Top 5 RPGs that you never heard about is a new series on this channel that you guys seem to enjoy a lot. For all the new people watching, this is a list of new RPGs of all types which seem to have a lot of potential. I try to gather all the available information about each of these games so that we can have a clear picture of what we can expect from the final product. However, it goes without saying that we never know for sure how good they're going to be until they come out. I always recommend being careful before buying any of them until you see some reviews. Just keep in mind that I will probably cover most of these games in greater depth when they come out. Anyway, these are 5 more RPGs that you probably never heard about, part 3. Before we get to the video, a quick word from today's sponsor. Dragon City is a free-to-play mobile game available on Android and iOS devices. As the name would suggest, you can build your own Dragon City in this game and fill it with farms, buildings, and, as you would expect, a ton of dragons. There is a dragon book to complete by collecting over 1,000 of different dragons. Dragon City has a couple of PvP modes where you can fight your friends, as well as challenge other dragon masters. You will have the chance to collect one-of-a-kind dragons in PvP arenas, claim warriors' chests, and climb the leaderboards. In order to improve your dragons and make them more powerful, you will have to train them and take them to battle. You can also breed 2 dragons to get new ones and feed them to evolve. Besides the PvP modes, Dragon City features several events every week to discover and play new adventures. New dragons join every week through breeding events and special islands. There are many cool dragon skins that you can get from special events. You can find some really famous YouTubers in Dragon City like Dream, George Not Found, Eddie VR and many others. Download Dragon City for free by using my link in the description and support the channel. You will get a rare Thief Chief Dragon as well as 30,000 gold and 15,000 food. These special awards are only available for new users and for 7 days until July 1st. Number 5. Untitled RPG by Hytacka. If you're following my channel, you probably know that I made a dedicated video about this RPG project a few days ago. In its current state, it looks like a proof of concept with a lot of potential based on the quality of action combat and animations. I'm always really careful with the games that I feature in these videos, and I try to not include some far-fetched projects that seem to have a small chance to ever come out. And I wouldn't include this project in the list if the developer didn't manage to secure funding for this game. He's going to receive 10 million Japanese yen on annual basis, which is around $90,000 a year. A huge publishing company from Japan called Kodansha is going to fund this project. This is not a huge sum of money for the game development by any means, but pretty decent for an indie title. And based on the talent which this developer has, it seems that's going to be enough for a decent indie RPG. All of the videos on his channel are showcasing the combat mechanics. And if you haven't noticed already, the combat is really smooth. The quality of animations is on a AAA level, if not even better than some animations in AAA RPGs that came out in recent years. So that's a great sign. Everything else in this project is pretty much bought assets, which is not surprising at all because it's been in development for just a couple of months. I believe we're going to see the original assets in the final game because of the new budgets. The final game is supposed to be a European medieval fantasy RPG. The main plot of the game is related to the magical element called May, and a couple of countries started a war because of this resource. I translated all the available documents about this project, with Google Translate obviously. If you want to hear every little detail about it, check out the video I did a couple of days ago. Since the game is in early stages of development, keep in mind that a lot of those things could change. Nevertheless, it seems like we're going to get a decent RPG with some pretty good combat mechanics. When it comes to the release date, well, obviously there is nothing, but I will try to keep you informed about future updates. Number 4. Ys 9 Monstrum Nox. As you guys probably know, I don't play a lot of JRPGs. However, my most favorite JRPG franchise of all time has to be Ys games. The newest addition to this series is Ys 9 Monstrum Nox. This is the only game on this list which has been released. It came out on September 5th, 2020, well, on PS4 at least. That was the only platform where you could play this game. but it's coming out on PC and Nintendo Switch on July 6th, and I'm going to get it on both of those platforms. If you never played a game in Ys series, the main appeal for these games have always been the action combat and really good boss fights. The story is also pretty decent, and it follows the life of adult Christian and a couple of his best friends. But the story is not told in chronological order, so you don't have to worry about missing something from previous games. You can always go back and play them whenever you want, and I definitely recommend doing that if you get into this series with Ys 9. But it's not mandatory for enjoying the new game. In every Ys game you're going to meet new characters with unique playstyles, and you're able to switch between them by the press of a button. So it's party-based action RPG, but not in a traditional way. This is one of the reasons why the combat is so smooth and responsive. Switching the characters on the fly and using their unique abilities always feels great. It's a fast-paced action system, but not extremely flashy to the point where you can't see anything on the screen like in some JRPGs. There is a free demo for this game on Steam that you can check out. The demo has a couple of options to try out the new features like climbing and gliding. Besides that, you can also get a feel of other gameplay changes and new characters that you couldn't see in the previous game. Adol has been cursed and became a monstrum. He has to use his new powers to stop the Green World Nox from consuming the city. That's the premise of Ys 9. Like I said, I absolutely love this series, but I also have a huge respect for this developer. Falcom has laid the foundation of action RPGs with Dragon Slayer series way back in 1984. It was one of the first action RPGs, if not the first, which introduced the equipment that changes the player character's visual appearance, karma/reputation system, and full-fledged character statistics, amongst other things. I will definitely do a full review for Ys 9 when it comes out. Number 3. Project Exyl. We started this list with a couple of games that have great combat mechanics, and I guess we are continuing in the same fashion. Project Exyl is a dark fantasy action RPG with a dynamic combat system. Unfortunately, we don't have a lot of information about this game. We can only judge it by the videos on the developer's channel. I think we wouldn't be wrong if we say it's a Souls-like RPG. The big accent is obviously on combat mechanics, and even though this is clearly an early stage of development, the combat mechanics look pretty good. There is a video where the player uses a couple of different weapon types. Every weapon he used seems like it has a decent amount of weight, which is obviously important for creating an impactful feel in these types of games. The only bad or annoying thing about the gameplay is the overused shaking camera effects. It's not terrible, but I think the effect should be at least reduced. Shaking camera can be a good addition to any action combat system, but if overused, it just makes the combat annoying. Not to mention that it makes some people with motion sickness, well, sick. Besides that, the gameplay in Project Exyl seems to have a lot of potential. There are a couple of more videos where we can see the dynamic weather system in the game, as well as some environments. But yeah, like I said, there is not a lot of information about this game, that's pretty much it. The release date for this game is yet to be announced. Number 2. Death Trash. Death Trash is an action/strategy open-world post-apocalyptic RPG. As you can tell, it has a pixel art style, so it probably won't be for everyone. I'm gonna sound like a broken record, but it's not something that I usually play. However, Death Trash managed to hold my attention a lot when I started playing the demo on Steam. This game has been in development for about 5 years by a single developer, and he did an amazing job so far. First of all, the atmosphere that the game creates is really good. It's really unsettling, in a good way of course. And the setting itself is really interesting. It's a mix of different themes, from dystopian post-apocalyptic to cyberpunk futuristic setting. Even though the setting is dark and gloomy, the game has a really good sense of humor. I mean, all characters that I met and interacted with are basically crazy. This huge pile of meat wants to make some friends, there is a naked crazy guy outside the first area, because of course there is, and so on. Since that trash is an RPG, you have different options in dialogues and they actually matter. Right from the beginning, the game tries to teach you that you always have different approach to whatever you do, which is a welcome feature in RPGs. You get to make your character and choose your skills and attributes. The combat is pretty decent, if not a bit stiff. I played with the mouse and keyboard for some time, then I switched to the controller. And I definitely think the combat feels a lot better with the controller, which is not surprising at all. But you'll do just fine with mouse and keyboard if that's what you prefer. I can't put my finger on the exact problem when it comes to melee combat, it might be just because I'm not used to play these types of RPGs. Although I think I'm usually pretty good when it comes to any reaction type action combat. Don't get me wrong, the gameplay is not bad at all, far from it actually. I just think it needs a bit more polishing to be really good. I played on normal difficulty and I really like how challenging the game can be, especially if you decide to play recklessly. I actually can't wait for this game to be released because it's one of the more unique RPGs that I played recently. You can clearly see that it's a labor of love, so I wish this developer luck with the final version of the game. Number 1. Tales of Arise. Definitely the most famous game on this list, but I still think it will kinda fly under the radar for most people. There are a ton of games in Tales series, and almost none of those games managed to hold my attention. But Tales of Arise looks really appealing to me, and the main reason is, you guessed it, the combat system. That's not the only reason, of course, the game looks pretty decent in general. Instead of going with the classic anime art style, Tales of Arise went with the watercolor painting style, and it looks really good. Tales of Arise is a party-based RPG, and you can switch between your characters in the battle. You can only control the character that you selected, but the battle allows you to use some abilities from other characters as well. There is also a feature which allows you to set up the AI of your party, so it's a bit more tactical compared to Ys games, for example. Well, judging by that feature at least, but the combat itself can look like heavy button mashing in some scenes. The thing I'm not a huge fan of is the battle arena, which only activates when you get into fights. I know this is something that a lot of JRPGs like to do, but to me, it always feels really disconnected from the gameplay itself. It doesn't really matter that much if the combat is really good, which definitely seems to be the case in Tales of Arise. I'm not exactly sure if this is an open world RPG, but some areas in the gameplay demo seems to be really big and open. When it comes to the story, the main character called Arfin has lost his memory and he fights for his freedom. Sounds generic as fuck, but that doesn't really matter to me when it comes to JRPGs. It's all about the action, baby. Yeah, anyway, Tales of Arise is releasing on September 10th for PC, PS4 and 5, Xbox One and Xbox Series S and X. So almost everything except the Switch. I would really like to see this game on the Switch, but it's probably better for me to get it on my PC. That's pretty much it for this list. It's kinda ironic because I said I'm not a huge fan of JRPGs, yet I included 3 JRPGs on this list. But at the end of the day, this list is not exactly for me, it's for everyone who is looking for some promising new RPGs of all types. I will try my best to mix different RPGs in the lists, to have something for everyone, if possible of course. Tell me your opinions about these games in the comments below. Don't forget to download Dragon City by using my link in the description and support the channel. Don't forget to subscribe for more RPG content. If you want to support the channel in the long run, consider becoming a Patreon or a YouTube member. You can get your name on the end credits, as well as some other perks like early access to videos, Discord roles, my plans for future content, etc, etc. That will be all, and I'll see you in the next one.